Engine off. Gym bag in the back seat. A phone glowing on the dash. Charging for tomorrow. There's a man in a clean, pressed shirt sitting in a grocery store parking lot at 9 at night. In the morning he'll put on that shirt, drive to a real job, badge in, and do good work all day. Then he'll come back here. To this parking lot. Because this car is where he lives now. And here's the part that should stop you cold. He's not unemployed. He's not on drugs. He's not a cautionary tale. He has a paycheck. He has a manager who likes him. He has a LinkedIn. I know how that sounds. I know the first thing your brain wants to do is hunt for the flaw, the bad decision, the reason it could never be you. Stick with me. Because this isn't a story about the homeless guy you drive past. This is a story about the guy at the desk next to yours. And I'll be honest, when I first started pulling this thread, it rattled me. Because the more I looked, the more I realized the man in that car isn't the exception anymore. He's the early draft of something a lot of us are quietly turning into. If you want more of the honest version, no spin, no sales pitch, hit subscribe. That's it. It keeps these going. Now let me show you what I found. Because they keep telling us the economy recovered. Recovered. Turn on any channel and there it is. The market's at record highs. Unemployment's low. The recession everybody braced for never came. We made it. We're back to normal. And maybe, that's true on a screen in a studio somewhere. But it's not true at your kitchen table. You feel it the second you unload the groceries. The bag is lighter and the receipt is longer. The coffee that was $4 is closer to $9. The cart you used to fill for $100 now runs $160, and somehow there's less food in it. They tell you inflation is 3%. 3. But you've watched a bag of pasta go from a quarter to 50 cents. That's not 3%, that's double. You've watched a case of soda double, then double again. You're not bad at math. You're living in a different economy than the one they're describing, and a part of you has started to wonder if you're the crazy one. You're not. The raise you fought for last year? Gone. Swallowed whole by rent before the first check even cleared. You ran a little faster and the floor sped up underneath you, and you ended the year in exactly the same place, only more tired. So when they say, the economy recovered, what they really mean is the numbers recovered. You didn't. And here's the thing I keep circling back to, that gap between what they say and what you feel, that's not the scary part. The scary part is what we did to close it. We didn't fix it. We adjusted to it. Quietly. Without anyone telling us to. And we haven't even gotten to the heaviest piece yet. Because here's what actually happened. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The recovery never came. We just moved the line. Think about that word for a second. Normal. Normal isn't a fixed point. It's not carved in stone somewhere. Normal is just whatever you've gotten used to. And that's the trick. That's the whole quiet trick of the last few years. Nobody crashed the economy in one loud morning. Nobody rang a bell. Instead, the line of what counts as normal got dragged down a single inch at a time. So slow you couldn't feel it move. 10 years ago, a grown adult with a full-time job sleeping in his car would have been a tragedy. A headline. Something a whole town would rally around. Today, he's got a channel calling it van life. That's not a recovery. That's a country lowering its standards so gradually that nobody screamed. We didn't get richer. We got quieter. And I want you to sit with how that actually happens, because it doesn't happen to other people. It happens to you, one small surrender at a time. There are 3 doors people walk through to survive this. 3 ways we learn to live broke and call it normal. And every single one of them is a trap. The first door is the obvious one. Shrink. You cut. You cancel the subscriptions. You skip the dentist. You stretch the chicken across 3 nights instead of 2. You become a genuine, world-class expert at living on less. And for a while it even feels like control. Like you're being responsible. But the cost is right out in the open. Your life gets a little smaller every year. The vacation becomes a day trip. The day trip becomes a drive. The drive becomes, let's just stay in. You're not living anymore. You're managing a slow retreat. That's door 1. Your life gets smaller. The second door feels like a lifesaver right up until it isn't. Borrow the whole. When shrinking isn't enough, you reach for the card. You finance the groceries. You buy now, pay later, the school shoes, the car repair, the electric bill. You're not being reckless, you're keeping the lights on. Anyone would. But the cost of this door is a debt that never closes. Because you're not borrowing for a future. You're borrowing to stand still. You're paying interest on the privilege of being broke a little more slowly, and every month the hole gets dug back out by the payment you just made. That's a treadmill, not a ladder. And it speeds up too. So that's door 1, your life shrinks. Door 2, your debt grows. Quick thing before the last door, because this is the one that matters most. If you've walked through either of those rooms, drop one word in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. I read them, and it pushes this to the next person who needs it. And if it's landing, hit that like. Okay. The third door. The third door doesn't make a sound. Because the third door is the one where you stop trying for the future at all. There's no bill for this one. No collection call. No headline. You just quietly decide, without ever saying it out loud, that some things aren't for you anymore. The house. You stop checking the listings. The kid you always thought you'd have, you and your partner do the math one night and just don't bring it up again. Retirement. You stop opening the statement. Remember at the start, I told you the heaviest piece hadn't come yet? This is it. The first 2 doors cost you money. This one costs you the future you were promised, and it does it so silently that you'll mistake it for maturity. You'll call it being realistic. You'll call it the world we live in now. You'll call it normal. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel is 34. He lives in Montreal, though honestly he could live anywhere, and that's part of the point. He's an electrician's apprentice turned full-time tech. Steady hands. Shows up early. The kind of guy a foreman trusts with the keys. A year ago, Daniel moved into his car. Not because he lost his job, he still has it. Not because of some collapse, there was no collapse. He sat down one evening with a calculator and a rent listing, and the 2 numbers refused to fit in the same sentence. A place to live cost more than he made. So he did the math, and the math said, the car. He told himself it was temporary. He kept it clean. He kept going to the gym, partly for the showers, partly because it was the one thing that still felt like a normal life. He survived a Montreal winter in that car. 36 below. He'd run the heater, shut it off, pull the blanket up, and wait for the alarm so he could go to work. Go to work. Like everyone else. Like it was fine. And here's what gets me about Daniel. He's not angry the way you'd expect. He's calm about it. He talks about it the way you'd talk about a long commute. Because somewhere in that year, sleeping in a car with a full-time job stopped feeling like an emergency and started feeling like a setup. A lifestyle. A choice he could almost be proud of. That's door 3. The future quietly closing. Not with a crash, with a shrug. And the thing I need you to hear is this. Daniel didn't fail. Daniel did everything they told him to do. He learned a trade. He kept the job. He showed up at 36 below. He budgeted down to nothing, and then he budgeted past it. He played the game exactly the way it was written. And the game still put him in the car. So when you catch yourself looking for his mistake, and you will, because I did, understand what that instinct really is. It's hope. It's you trying to find the line between him and you, so you can stand on the safe side of it. There is no line. People like you are sleeping in clean cars tonight. In pressed shirts. With jobs to go to in the morning. People like you. And I want to be careful here, because it would be easy to turn this into a horror story for clicks. I'm not going to do that. Because the real weight of it was never in one man's car. It's in how ordinary it's become. So let's look at how ordinary, with the numbers. And I'll keep these honest, the kind you can go check yourself. Surveys have asked Americans the same simple question for years. Could you cover a sudden $400 emergency without borrowing? For something close to a third of people, the answer is no. Sit with that number, because it's small on purpose. We're not talking about a hospital bill or a lost job. $400. A car repair. A bad tooth. The thing that turns an ordinary week into a crisis. for tens of millions of working adults. People with jobs, with shifts, with badges. Then there's the borrowing. Buy now, pay later, splitting a purchase into 4 payments, went from a novelty to a habit, and more people are using it not for a TV, but for groceries. Read that again. Financing food. In 4 installments. That's not luxury debt. That's a person running out of month before they run out of bills. And the inflation gap you feel in your chest, it's real. The official number says prices rose a few percent. But strip the receipt down to only the things you can't skip: rent, food, gas, insurance, childcare, and the rise for working families has run far steeper for years. The basket they measure and the basket you carry are not the same basket. You've been right the whole time. Here's the one I can't shake. The generations that should be starting families and buying first homes, millennials, and the one right behind them, together hold a thin sliver of the nation's wealth. The generation now retiring holds the overwhelming majority of it. An entire cohort didn't get poorer overnight. They just never got their turn. That's not a recession. A recession ends. This is something else. This is a slow resorting of who gets to have a life, and it doesn't announce itself, because the people it's happening to are too busy working to notice it's happening. Now, here's where I have to be straight with you. I'm not here to sell you anything. I don't have a gold coin to push. No bunker. No freeze-dried food kit. No $200 newsletter that promises to beat the system. I don't have a secret account that fixes this. Nobody does, and anyone telling you otherwise is selling you the one thing you can't afford to lose: hope. At a markup. I don't have the answer. I just don't want you to feel crazy anymore. Because the most damaging part of all this was never the price of eggs. It was the quiet voice that told you the problem was you. That if you just budgeted harder, hustled more, wanted less, you'd be fine. That everyone else figured it out, and you didn't. You didn't fail a test. The test was rigged, and then they hid the curve. So here's the real question. It's not when the economy is going to crash. That question is a trap. It keeps you scanning the horizon for an explosion that already happened, quietly, in slow motion, behind you. The real question is this: how much of your life have you already handed over without noticing? How many doors did you close and call it being an adult? How much did you shrink and call it normal? Because the economy didn't recover. We just lowered the meaning of the word until the wreckage fit inside it. And the most dangerous thing in the world isn't a collapse you can see coming. It's the one you've already learned to live in and started calling normal. Sit with that. If this put words to something you'd been feeling quietly, tell me in the comments. When was the moment you stopped calling it hard and started calling it normal? I want to read it. And if it hit, leave a like, so it finds the next person sitting in a parking lot tonight. There's a video on the screen right now that picks up exactly where this one leaves off. It's about the people who saw this coming and what they did with the little they had. Go watch that one next. I'll see you there.